Implicated fracking.
The concern, of course, a potential fly in the ointment are the environmental concerns over fracking and whether
probably caused by a wastewater disposal well from the fracking industry.
Fracking, a process in which a stream of pressurized water, sand, and chemicals prop open fractures in rock formations deep underground. It's used to unearth valuable oil and natural gas, but it's unleashing a slew of controversy that goes well beyond Williston, North Dakota.
It smells like being like at a gas station. That's what it smells like.
Louis Meeks is from Pavilion, Wyoming, a small town sitting on a big supply of natural gas.
There's a well over here just 500 feet away from our house. They completed it in 2005, and then our water went bad. It's a little ways up there, but...
Meeks believes fracking for natural gas ruined his groundwater. He and his wife now use bottled water for nearly everything, even to feed the chickens. And he's not alone.
When they first started vamping up and started drilling, our domestic water went bad overnight, immediately.
Jeff Locker, along with his neighbor John Fenton, also believe fracking is to blame.
It really makes it hard on you to even turn the tap on.
Fenton raises beef cattle in Pavilion and has no choice but to use groundwater for 150 of his cows.
I wouldn't drink it. No, I'm nervous about putting my hands in it. The water they drink is horrible.
The Environmental Protection Agency found complaints like these reason enough to construct a pair of wells, including one on Jeff Locker's property, to test the groundwater in Pavilion. According to an EPA statement, the water tested contained compounds likely associated with gas production practices, including hydraulic fracturing. A spokesman for Encana, a company which has drilled near the water test locations, told CNBC in part, "We are concerned that the EPA has jumped to some conclusions that we do not think are supported by science. We think that a third-party review would be great, an unbiased third party not hand-selected by the EPA."
It's been done for 100 years around the world.
Professor Roger Anderson is with the Department of Earth and Environmental Sciences at Columbia University in New York. He says fracking, if done correctly and with proper oversight, is safe. And although the process isn't new, it's new to those seeing it happen in their backyards.
It's a scientific experiment that requires massive amounts of equipment and people and strange chemicals, and nobody actually knows what's going on down there in the earth from the general public, so I think it probably scares them a little.
But fracking fears run far beyond Wyoming. At protests around the country, concerned citizens and celebrity activists like actor Mark Ruffalo expressed their doubts.
And right now, it's been incumbent upon us to prove that they're poisoning our water, not incumbent upon them to prove that they're not.
In Texas, the concern is over the amount of water needed to frack, given the state has been in a severe drought. In Ohio, small earthquakes have raised questions of fracking's impact on fault lines. In Pennsylvania, more fracking fallout. Groundwater in the town of Dimmock deemed undrinkable. And controversy is also brewing in North Dakota, where fracking is done for oil, not natural gas.
Oil and money make the town go round.
Folk singer Chris Kitko is the founder of Bakken Watch, based in Bismarck, North Dakota.
What's going on in Wyoming makes me very worried about what could be going on here.
Her biggest concern? The chemicals used in the process.
We don't know what the chemicals are necessarily. That concerns me.
Statoil's Bakken operations manager, Eric Hoover, believes there is nothing to worry about when it comes to the liquid cocktail used in the fracking process.
Well, it's 99% water and proppant, which it could be sand or man-made ceramics, which are made from clay or sintered bauxite. And guar, which is a natural plant. And then there's the 1%, less than 1%, that are the chemicals that we use to adjust the pH, make that guar become thick so that we can carry that proppant into the wellbore.
What's in that 1%?
You need to talk to Halliburton or BJ or Schlumberger, because I don't understand. It's chemistry.
Halliburton, Statoil's contractor for this job, agreed to show us firsthand what the fracking liquid looks like.
Can I touch it? Yeah, it's the same stuff that's like a thickening agent for ice cream and makeup.
They've also disclosed online what's in the fluids, listing dozens of ingredients, ranging from alcohol used in dish soap to chemicals used in paint thinner. Eric Hoover understands the concerns, but says don't compare fracking in the Bakken to what's happening in other parts of the country.
It's a different animal because it's deeper. In the way we design our wells, the way we frack our wells, it's a different animal than the Haynesville, the Marcellus, the Eagle Ford, some of those.
But what if all the fracking is lumped together?
That would shut it down. It would shut it down overnight.
When America's oil rush, boom or bust, continues. In Williston, North Dakota, they're drilling, fracking, trucking, and building their way to what many believe will be a bright and prosperous future. But there's one obstacle that some believe may stand in the way: the EPA.
We think we can stand the test here. We think if the EPA comes in here and studies this, that they'll be satisfied. But we get concerned that just the national reaction is that there's problems someplace, and if fracking is not good over there, are you sure it's going to be good here?
Currently, the EPA is studying the impact fracking has on drinking water in towns in North Dakota and 4 other states. Williston's Mayor Ward Koser is nervous that bad results in some states could devastate his.
We're concerned that the federal government doesn't always use common sense, and they just lump everybody together and they say, well, we think it's causing problems in Pennsylvania or wherever, so we want to make, we don't want any fracking until we can study this. We're going to put a 2-year moratorium on this until we can research it.
That would shut this down overnight.
That would shut it down. It would shut it down overnight.
If that were to happen, Williston could fall as quickly as it has risen. It wouldn't be the first time an American city has gone from boom to bust, and not just because of oil. In Empire, Nevada, most residents worked for a drywall plant which operated 24 hours a day. Demand for the product dried up, and the town's residents packed up, leaving it a virtual ghost town. In Parachute Creek, Colorado, an oil find brought in jobs and money. But when oil prices tumbled in the early 80s, costs went up and the operation shut down. Thousands of employees with jobs one day were unemployed the next. Locals called that day Black Sunday.
It kind of devastated us.
And in Brevard County, Florida, once the center of the U.S. space program, now the center of layoffs and foreclosures, thanks in part to the retirement of NASA's space shuttle program. The fear so real that in North Dakota, the state's legislature authorized the Attorney General to use up to $1 million to fight future regulations. Despite all of this, Stat Oil's Eric Hoover believes drilling in the Bakken is here for the long run.
You say the Bakken boom was a baseball game. Well, what inning are we in the boom?
Probably the first or second.
And the city of Williston is moving forward as if nothing will get in its way.
The building department issued permits for 10 27-unit apartment buildings to go right here.
Starting with housing, in 2011 alone, the city has issued building permits for multifamily, single-family, and mobile homes, along with 7 new hotels.
What you see in yellow here is basically the city limits at this particular point. What you see in red are areas that are being annexed now and developing.
Filling out and filling up, requiring more basic services, including a larger police force to combat the rising crime that comes along with a larger population.
In our budget this year, we're looking to hire 6 more policemen.
The only area hospital, Mercy Medical Center, is also hiring and physically growing, all to accommodate the 70% increase in ER visits over the last 3 years, according to CEO Matthew Grimshaw.
We're preparing to double the size of our emergency department in the next 12 to 18 months. We are doubling the size of our surgical services. We're doubling our OB program.
Just one of the many needs this transforming city is trying to keep up with as it continues to grow. One person, one well, one building, and one job at a time.
If the EPA can become comfortable with the process here, then I think there's lots of drilling for a lot of years. I think we're at the beginning of probably a 25-year cycle.
All in the name of America's oil rush, boom or bust.